Hey, what's up? Vinny Ten at Vinny Ten Racing. You know the place, you know the time, you know it's Friday. It's Friday. Well, today, what I'm going to bring you later is a miracle. It's like, what do you mean, miracle? Like, I'm going to show you literally a miracle. And then I'm going to show you why I've been so adamant, I guess, is about finding good shops. Because today, you're going to find out why I do this. Anyway, so this week in my shop, obviously last week we buttoned this up. I'm still waiting for an ATI dampener. We did order the Jim Wolf twin turbo kit for this. So this is on its way. I can't wait to show Maurice his finished product and also to get the car finished. So it's going to come out really nice. It came out really nice. I'm really happy with it. And then this week I started an EJ25. And the first thing I always do when I do it, I always start out with the rods. You can't buy a better rod than a Carrillo rod. If you don't have a Carrillo rod, you know, in your stuff, and you're looking to make big horsepower, that can be really tough. These are actually Carrillo HD rod, and also with their car bolt. Carrillo actually makes their own bolt as well. It's a proprietary bolt that they make. It's a really beautiful bolt. I think they're about $55 a piece. So they are pretty badass. Basically, we use most of the time king bearing, about 90% of the time. We always go with the coated bearings. Whenever I do rod work or block work, I always buy, the standard bearing and then the standard X bearing, which gives me an extra 1,000 clearance if I need it. And these were pretty close, to be honest with you. A couple of them were right where I want them to be, and then a couple of them were tight. So when I find a tight bearing, a tight rod, what I'll do is, because I did go ahead and order 2 sets of bearings, I'll put a half shell of one, another half shell of the other, and then come up with my clearances that I'm looking for. And that's exactly what we had to do on 2 of the rods. The rods are now done. We move over to the block real quick. EJ blocks. So, the reason why everybody always sells you a new EJ block, they never want to deal with an old EJ block or rebuild EJ blocks, is because you can never get the line home right. And the reason why you can't get the line home right is because there's no caps. This is an opposed motor, so on an opposed motor there's no caps. It's just, pistons on the left, pistons on the right, whether it's a Porsche or something like that. And really the only way that it's possible to actually get the cases to go closer is if you machine each half of the case, which nobody can do. So inevitably, you put a standard bearing in here and you're gonna always wind up with a greater amount of clearance than what you're looking for. So this has about 1.5 thou too much clearance. Again, thank God for King, because King actually makes what they call a .026 bearing. And that bearing is actually 1,000th thicker. So if you have too much clearance, you use the .026 bearing, and that should clean that up pretty good. So I'm in an area that, I basically need about 1,000th. I don't want to disclose my bearing clearances, to be honest with you, because then my douchebag low-life fucking competitors copy my shit. But overall, I'm looking for a certain clearance. I'm not going to get it with the standard bearing. It's too much clearance. So unfortunately, we didn't order the 026 set. We did have it coming today, but it didn't come today. So rather than take a chance, this is our industry, and anybody that's in our industry knows this. If it didn't come today, it's probably not going to come tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to overnight a set of bearings for Saturday delivery, and then when the other ones come in on Monday, we're just going to keep those in stock because I do quite a few of these, and then I can actually have a full day of work tomorrow having the bearing here. Another really nice thing when we build these motors at this level for racing is the wrist pin. It's a tool steel wrist pin, and then we have it coated by our good friends over at Calico Coating. But this is not even close to the wrist pin that you get when you order a set of pistons. So just to give you an idea of the wall thickness on the pin that I would use, look at that, that's thick right there. And of course, in this particular case, we don't make our piston, but we have our own design piston that obviously CP does for us. Really nice forging, so turbo forging. It's got lots of meat down here on this new forgings that they have. Skirt thickness is really good, and the piston's very stable. But we also send this out to my good friend Dave over at Calico Coatings, and we get the top coat on there, and we get the side coat on there. And a lot of my high-end motors have all the coatings on them. They really seem to help. So nice piece, but that's the reason why everybody really starts out with a fresh new block. If you have, this block was pretty fresh, so that's why we used it as a core. It's going into one of the in-house race cars for Steve. And so we decided that, you know what, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put our sleeve in here, which this block is sleeved. We do that for a number of reasons. It's obviously been closed decked by IAG, and then of course line honed by IAG. And unfortunately, you know, whenever you line hone an older EJ block or FA block or the new whatever, the new 2.4 motor block, I'm sure it's going to have the same problem. You're always going to have too much clearance when you're done, and so you're going to need that thicker bearing. I literally have a miracle to show you guys. You need to stick around, wait to the second half of this video, because I'm literally going to show you a miracle. I would never get away with this. I don't know how this car is in one piece. I don't know how the guy's alive. I don't know how this thing didn't burn down to the ground. All of that. Oh, you know what? Before we do all of that, what happened, Vin? I thought we were going racing. Yeah, I thought so too, until it got rained out and canceled for the second week in a row. And I'm biting at the bit. I want to go so effing bad. I'm literally going to close the whole shop next Saturday, because Friday night we're all going to get together and we're going to head to New England Dragway. I'm literally going up to New England Dragway because even though it may not rain this weekend, you know, the next weekend coming up, they're booked with their own events. So the only place that has a legitimate test and tune, New England Dragway, we're headed that way. I think it's actually better because they're going to have a little bit better air up there. Obviously, you guys all know what I'm going for. And so, if we wait until the week after, it's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. We're coming closer to Pan Americans. I really don't want to get that close to Pan Americans without at least trying to test the car twice. And if we head south, we're going to be heading into the hotter weather. As racers, you know that's going to have an effect on the car. So we've decided that if we were going to go anywhere next week, rather than sit out, let's take the 4.5-hour trip. We'll go up to New England Dragway, and maybe we'll get some lobster roll and some clam chowder while we're up there. But in the meantime, let's go see what's going on in the shop. I got some interesting shit going on at the shop. You're not going to believe it. This week was the wrecking crew. I'll tell you that. The guys are here. This car, typical maintenance car, beautiful car, typical maintenance car. Valve cover gaskets, spark plugs, oil change, stuff like that. Lucas has been knocking it out, just doing our general service work this week. Not just general service work, but general service work on performance cars. You really didn't have any big jobs this week, right?
Front mount yesterday.
Yeah, front mount on what? On a WRX?
Yeah.
And that was about it. That was about the biggest job you had. Most of the stuff you were doing this week was the in and out stuff, which is what we have Lucas here doing, is all the in and out stuff. The 1 day stuff, the day and a half stuff. That's where he's at. He's an excellent B-Tech, and getting better all the time. Nice car, nice looking car, runs great now. We probably had, how many cars you work on this week? Probably.
Can't even count.
Yeah, can't even count. He just knocked it out of the park with all the in and out cars he did. So not every day or every week we're going to be doing big builds or this build or that install, but these cars still need to be maintained. We're here to maintain those cars. We know exactly what to look for, and we'll go from there. Talk about the wrecking crew. So we actually walked past this, so I want to actually readdress this. So we were talking about Vishal's 840 horsepower Subaru, and why these people make me take their shit apart when I already know what's wrong with it. So if you come up here, like I said, second gear on the main shaft and the counter shaft, blown out, knocked out some, got to replace some shift forks because they're a little tight, they're a little screwed up here. Shit metal everywhere, as you can see. So this is just one of those things where, you just added to your bill because you made me waste another 2 hours to break this down and show you what I already knew, which was a blown out second gear. And it's like, this is not new to you. This is the third tranny. So hopefully he doesn't ask us to put a stock gear back in there. Hopefully he asks us to get him some PPG gears and and stop this insanity from happening, because if we put the stock gears in there, as I told them the last 3 times, it's just going to happen again. But I can't make those decisions for the customers. The customer has to make those decisions for himself. He's an adult. He'll make those decisions. But, you know, again, just you start making horsepower, you're going to start grenading shit. And that's just part of it. Oh, and by the way, it's just not the new cars. You know, I hear, oh, you know, the new cars break. Stick around. I got something to show you. All right. Joseph. Not Josephina. Joseph. Because he definitely manned up this week. That's for sure. That was good. So Joey finished up that supercharger that you'll see later on the dyno. Came out perfect. It really did. It came out impeccably perfect. And for a car that has as many miles on it as that car has, to come out that nice and not break everything on the install going out or going in, really, really a good job. And then he went from that car to a real pain in the ass job, which is galley gaskets on a VQ37, which is just a pain in the ass job to do. It's not an easy job to do by far, especially on the 37 with the V valve motor. Most people don't even know what the fucking V valve stands for, but you know, whatever. But the V valve motors, on those motors, they have the variable valve electric lift set up on there. And if the car needs tensioners, the third chain tensioners, the little chains, you got to take that whole bridge off. And it just adds like 4 or 5 hours to the job. Plus the job had other stuff that came along with it, oil change, spark plugs, some other incidentals. And he knocked that car out after knocking out the supercharger. And now he's on this, which is a 08 350Z, as you can see. And the guy actually built this turbo kit using parts from a GTR, which I couldn't believe. I actually always believed in my heart that by looking at the VQ heads and looking at the GTR heads and just working with the motors and having them both there, that they were almost identical. And I said, you know what, this motor would fit right in this car. And so this guy, again, you know, a necessity is the mother of invention. This guy took a set of GTR manifolds, GTR turbos, and bolted them on, and they fit well. They clear the steering rack, they clear the steering shaft, and they clear the fuel lines on the right-hand side, the passenger side. The factory fuel lines go right up against the frame rail, and it clears that actually better than most turbo kits. So really impressed that they worked. It was something I knew that would work. This kid was able to go out and prove it, so it definitely works. The rest of this stuff we got to clean up. His finish work wasn't that great, but the bulk of the work actually not too bad. So Joey's going through it right now, and he'll come up with a whole list of shit, right? Okay. Earlier in the video, I said to you, thank you, Joey. I said to you guys that I will show you a fucking miracle, and a miracle is about what you're about to see. This car comes in, it's a beautiful car. We've had it in the shop for a couple of weeks now, and what we've been initially tasked to do on this was find why this car keeps draining batteries. So of course we have tons of software we can look at. We can look at the factory software. We looked through this car, we couldn't find anything. We went even to the point of pulling every single fuse out, and the thing still had a draw. We were pulling our hairs out. I actually called a friend of mine, Darren, who works for Infinity, and he came by and he started helping us out one night. And you know, between Steve and Yarrick and Darren, now I got 3 guys that are on it, right? And it turns out that normally when you wire something aftermarket into a car, you'll do it after the fuse box, after the relay. You'll find it, you could even do it in the ignition harness, because you could tap into the ignition harness on some of these cars because it's switched power and it's fused power. Well, on this car, the geniuses that did the fucking stereo, which some of them are just horrendous fucking people, and that's not the miracle, but we'll get to that. but they actually tapped into the back of the fuse box before it even gets fused linked power, which means that the thing was constantly drawing even if you pulled out every fuse, because it was in the back of the fuse box. It was like, it's the most stupidest thing you could fucking possibly do, is to tap before a fuse. If you're ever going to tap into these cars, tap before the fuse. You tap after the fuse, not before the fucking fusible panel. If anything goes wrong, this car is gonna go on fire. Which leads me to the next thing. You know, you hear me with these videos talking about quality shops. You know, find the right shop. They are out there. And I'm gonna now tell you, I'm gonna bring it to the next level where it's not about your motor, where it's not about your cylinder heads, like you've seen in previous videos. Now I'm gonna show you where it really becomes fucking dangerous, and it's a fucking miracle that this car's in one piece and this guy's alive. And so let's show him what we found. So the guy was also complaining that every once in a while he would smell fuel. Okay, so of course we know these cars, we know it's got a turbo kit somebody else installed. So of course we're gonna turn around and yeah, I actually, for the purpose of this, I actually want them to see the leak. I don't know if would we be able to do that? Wipe this up and then like watch it happen? Okay, it takes a while? Okay. So come around here. You guys got to see this. So anybody that knows Nissans, you know, if you get a fuel leak or a fuel smell, most of the time it's because the cap that screws onto these cars, people strip or they don't get the seal, the O-ring seal to sit right. Okay. And when we came up against this car, I'm looking for something, just give me a second. Oh, there it is, okay. So we come up against this car, and we pull that out, we get that panel off, and we're looking at it, and we're like, oh, that's good. But now we're looking at the wiring. Obviously, it's new, but we're looking at the wiring, and we're like, this wiring is all cooked up. It's all cooked up. It's like, why is it all cooked up? It's all cooked up. And we don't know why it's all cooked up. So we're looking at it, and it definitely was trying to set itself on fire. Well, the geniuses that installed this on a 30 amp fuse used a fucking 10 amp relay. So the thing just cooked. Now that in itself probably could set the car on fire, but probably not. Probably smoke, make some noise, maybe cook your seat, right? Okay, keep coming back, come back around. What these geniuses did, in the air of making it look nice and look professional, is that they took these clamps, okay, and they riveted them into the floor so they can hold the harness. Doesn't seem like that bad of an idea, although that's not the way we would do it, okay? But when we walk up to this car and we're like, okay, well, we got to grab the harness. So we pull on the harness, and all of a sudden, we actually see fuel seeping through, and we can't figure out where it's coming from. So we're looking at it, and we're looking at it, and we're like, yo, that thing is leaking through the rivet. How is it leaking through the rivet? I don't know. So we pull on it, we pull the rivet out because the rivet was like fucking put in there like shit. Well, what turned out to be was that when these idiots went to put rivets in to hold the harness with the incorrect fucking fusible relay, they drilled through it, and guess what's underneath right there? What do you think is underneath right there if the fucking fuel tank is right here? Yeah, the rest of the fuel tank. And so they drilled through the fuel tank. Now, they probably didn't even know they drilled through the fuel tank, because what they did was that they put a rivet in there, and anybody ever worked with rivets, you know there's a piece that kind of sticks out at the end on the other side. And so that was the thing that was kind of closing the hole that they actually made a hole in from the drill that they used to put the rivet in. And so it didn't leak right away. So when we pulled the rivet out and we went to lean on the car, and all of a sudden you're seeing fuel come out and puddle just like you did, okay? So it's been puddling in here, right? But gas dries up fast, you can't see it. And it's a small leak, it's not coming out the bottom, it's coming out in here. So here's where it's a miracle, okay? So you gotta leave it right there. You have a fuel relay that's incorrect. It cooks the wire. It's literally sparking. You drilled the fucking rivet hole through the gas tank, put the rivet in there, and kicked this guy loose. And it's a miracle that this car didn't set itself on fire, because it actually tried to set itself on fire. Look at the marks that it left on the seat. It's a miracle that this car didn't blow up. I mean, like, you know, in the movies, boom, okay? Or that it just didn't go on fire. It's incredible. This guy, I told him to go say a prayer. He goes, I say my prayers every day. I'm glad, because I say them too. And this is just one of those instances where it's not your motor. Oh, my friends can do it. It's not your cylinder heads. Oh, my friends can do it. Oh, my friends can install a fuel pump. Oh, my friends can install a fucking relay. Or my friend's shop, or my buddy's shop, or this guy over here is going to do it cheaper. You almost burned this whole guy's car down. A fully built G37 with, you know, turbos, intercooler, stereo, wheels. And the guy's a great guy. The guy pays. He's not coming in here and saying, oh, you know what, I want it done cheaper. No, he's like, he went to, I don't want to say where. I do know where. I don't want to say where. I don't. I actually don't want to do it, because if somebody calls me on this, it's like, you're not going to get the nice guy Vinny. You're not going to get this guy that's smiling at your face. This is not what you're going to get. I'll tell you exactly what kind of person I think you are for doing this type of fucking work that could potentially kill somebody. And you know what the irony here is? Here's the irony. In New York State, if you wanted to cut somebody's fucking hair, you'd have to go to barber school for 6 months. But if you want to be some performance mechanic doing this kind of work, you don't need no schooling, no certification. You buy some fucking tools from Harbor Freight, and you're in business doing this kind of work. And let me tell you, I don't know anybody that's been killed, okay, getting a haircut. But this kind of shit, I know plenty of people that lost their cars from it burning down and going bad. And this guy was, I mean, this is as close as it comes before it goes on fire. You had all three elements. You had some good foamy to keep it going. You had spark, and you had fuel. So for this thing not to have blown up, again, a miracle. So be careful. Oh, it's just a fuel pump. Oh, it's just a fuel pump relay. These people don't even know what relay to put in there. They don't even have a clue. I can't even tell you how upsetting that makes me. So that's what we got there. I have one more to show you. So again, we do modern cars. We'll do anything. You know, that will do anything. But, you know, we're just performance guys. So if you have an old Mustang, you got an old Ford, you got an old Chevy, you know, we don't always do them, but from time to time we bring them in. This is a guy that kind of got upside down in the car. He recently bought the car, and it's just not working out for him. And it's the first time he brought me the car. He comes to me and he says, oh, I think my head gaskets are gone. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm looking over the car. Me and Yarrick are looking over the car. I said, Yarrick, let's get some things finished, and then we'll pull off ahead and we'll see what we got. It's a nice car. It's his wife's car. She likes the car. You know, it's got a typical 302, nothing fancy, but who's ever been working on it, not the highest quality, right? We take this thing apart. The first thing we noticed, you got no lavavola. Lavavola basura, okay? No good. It's shit, okay? And so we come over to the thing here, the engine. There's no piston there. The piston was destroyed by the valve, cracked, and fell into the pan. Now I know Ford made some 6-cylinder cars, and I know Ford made some 8-cylinder cars, but for sure they never made any 7-cylinder cars. So, you know, this is the kind of thing that happens from bad insulation. You're like, well, Vin, you know, the valve dropped, like Yarrick said, he's like, yeah, it's got a hole in one. I thought it was great. I'm like, yeah, that guy definitely got a hole in one, that's for sure. And, you know, you say, well, Vinny, you know, it's an old motor, you know, it could have dropped the valve, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, all of that's true, except for one problem. You see that MSD box? Yeah, that MSD box. Nice box, nothing wrong with it. It's doing its job, okay? But that box is a 6A. That's what it is, 6A. You know what it should have in here? A 6AL. And you know what the L stands for? Limiter. Limiter. 6AL with a limiter. This motor had no limiter. There's only very, very, very few ways a valve drops out, and the most common way is when it over revs. That's the most common way that any valve, modern, import, domestic, old school, you want to drop a valve, just keep banging it off the limiter. So here was a car that probably would have ran forever and ever and ever, you know, if it had a limiter in it. But because whoever put this car together, again, not a great install, used the wrong MSD box because they weren't aware that a whatever year Mustang it is, 68 or 69 Mustang, 68 I think it is, won't have a limiter in it if you put an MSD box in it. It's just not going to have one. And so they bought the cheapest MSD box, they put it in there, they put the 2 wires on the distributor, they thought they were doing a great job. And you know, a couple of months later, somebody gets stuck in second gear or they're beating on the car a little bit, and boom, because the car has no limiter, over revs, drops the valve, destroys the piston, and you're done. What can I say? Like all 90% of the cars that come from other shops come there not because the part failure, but because of an installation failure and your lack of installation experience. And even guys that have a lot of experience tend to overlook stuff. Like the guy that put this car together, he probably had a lot of experience, but he didn't have a lot of fucking knowledge. So you can have a lot of experience, doesn't mean you have a lot of knowledge. It just means you could put parts in and out of a car. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually, you know, build a car properly. And it's just insane when I'm, you know, it's almost like I predicted this stuff when we first started shooting the videos, and people were like, oh, you're so down on shops. Shop problem, you know, the FA motor that I'm building over there, shop problem. Those are all shop problems. It's probably between the 3 cars, if they were actually to fix them right, you're probably looking at somewhere like $25,000. You know, if you got the good motor, you know, we got to put a tank in there, drop the subframe in there. You know, we have the FA motor build and then the install. So just from people doing poor installations, you're talking about 25 grand worth of damage. That's this week. Don't pay attention. Don't listen. I don't care. Let's go see what they have over at the dyno. I think Joey's Rotrex powered AE86 is over there. I can never say that quick enough. And we'll see what's going on. Betsy, I promise tomorrow. I mean next week. I promise. I'll make the payment. It's next week. We are here today with Aaron's AE86. Can't say that 5 times fast. 2017 car. Oh, 2018, sorry. You know, I really like this car. It is what I would consider a true sports car. It's small, you know, it's compact, it's got a 4-cylinder in it. This is probably more of a modern sports car than, like, you know, the 400Z or whatever you want to call it, or the BMW lines. I think those cars are more like GT cars, like more saloon type vehicles. So it's really cool to see a car, you know, like this model. We're starting to do a lot of them, actually. You know, the FRSs, the BRZ, they're really becoming more and more popular. They're coming down in price. I don't think they were big sellers. Were they?
Yeah, no one really did much with them. They got them NA mainly for.
Yeah, I hate NA. So, you know, NA is like not available, like your horsepower. And that was not Aaron's problem. Okay, Aaron said, you know what? I need more horsepower, and I'm glad he did, because he was able to contact Jackson Racing. They have a really, really nice supercharger kit, uses a Rotrex unit, which is really nice. It's a bolt-in kit. It fits perfectly. Took us a little time to get it all in there, but otherwise than that, it really, really came out nice. This kit was really nice because you don't need to put a fuel pump or any other ancillary parts on it. We obviously changed the oil and put fresh plugs in it. But otherwise than that, the kit came really complete. So with that being said, oh, and it was also, you know, Steve on the keys. Stevie Keys. Stevie Keys.
No Stevie.
Okay, that's true. He hates that name. But obviously, he's tuning it with, on this platform, we use ECU Tech. So whether it's ECU Tech, UpRev, Alltech, Cobb, a bunch of others that, Microtech and a bunch of others, we can tune it all. So Steve, make it happen, baby. Really nice pull, definitely a nice car. One of the things I noticed right away, this is a pretty hollow area, so it usually reverberates sound pretty good. This Roadtrex unit, really quiet and really nice, because I think one of the most obnoxious things is sometimes somebody's supercharger units. But anyway, this thing was really quiet, pulled like a monster. Let's see what we got here. 11 pounds of boost, 266 horsepower, 192 foot-pounds of torque. What does that really represent? Well, what it really represents is that normally we see these cars dyno about 165, maybe 170 horsepower. So basically, you bolt on a supercharger, put a set of spark plugs in, a little oil change. 4 or 5 days later, you pick up your car with an extra 100 horsepower. And on any day when you could pick up 100 horsepower, that is a knockout.